I didn't run for tribal council to get into politics. It was because I thought I could affect something, I could change something. And I had been trying to, change the way we looked at people, healing, recovery, medicine, and trying to, in my previous job as nurse practitioner and clinic coordinator, I was trying to get people to meld the mind and the body together. So I thought that if I got on tribal council, that I could affect policy in that direction, to concentrate on the needs of the children and the women and the families. I think one of the biggest challenges that I had was being not a man, thinking like a woman, and the priorities were the family. And I've said, you can have all of the best infrastructure around, the best roads, you know, great buildings and, you know, a great clinic, all of those things which are extremely important to the community, but if the families are falling apart, if there are people still living on friends' couches that don't have their own home, children that are still being abused, people overdosing, women getting beat, then all of that is for naught. When we talk about trauma-informed care or trauma-informed awareness or responsiveness, we need to look at each other the same way. We need to look at our coworkers the same way. We need to be able to be sensitive to them and to understand, you know, what they're going through. What the tribe has done in the past, we're trying to live that down today. We're trying to get by that. You know, when I got onto tribal council, I went from being a beloved healthcare provider to one of them, to a tribal chief who's part of the tribe, who's part of, you know, not with the people. And it's a perception that's carried through the decades. We're trying to change that. You know, we're trying really hard to change that. My real hope is that we stop othering one another, and that we recognize more of our commonalities than our differences. I think we're a diverse community, and I think that we need to accept that about ourselves. Rather than have pockets of people that belong to a certain group, you know, or have a certain belief, that we become more tolerant of each other, and that we actively take care of each other no matter what. Unconditional personal regard, no matter what, I think is one of the cornerstones of where we need to be. It's where I'd like to see us be. If we don't look down at each other, you know, and we don't ridicule each other, then we could be one of the most powerful nation of people in the world. You know, and I don't think it's grandiose. I think it's just in knowing who you are. I sent my children, my three daughters, to the Akwesasne Freedom School, and it was a burden. Actually, it was harder for them to go there because of the judgment in the community at the time, because this was in the early days. This is when it first started. My oldest daughter was one of the first students. She was 4, 5, and was going to the Freedom School. Parents took criticism for wanting to teach their children their culture and their language, and the children took a lot of criticism for not being like us. And that wasn't what we intended. We wanted them to have a strong identity and to know their culture, because we all came from the same place. And rather than it be something that we should be ashamed of, it should be something that we're proud of, because it makes us who we are. But that ability to accept who we are and not judge each other, I think that we can get there. I think if we can heal all the past hurt and anger, we can get there. We come from very powerful roots. We're Haudenosaunee people. You know, we were ahead of the mark centuries ago, and I think that we have that capacity still within us. I remember as a child seeing them around the kitchen table with all kinds of papers, documents, maps on the table, discussing whatever it is that they were talking about. I was too young to understand it then, but that is part of the fabric of who I am and who other people are that are within the tribe. That there was not a disconnect between whether I went to a church as a child or whether I went to the Longhouse as a teenager. You know, how that all happened to me was you couldn't take it apart. One formed my emotional tie to the other. So I had read, I had listened to the teachings of my dad, my Uncle Ernie, Ray Fadden, all who were a major part of my childhood. So sometimes people assume who you are and what you stand for, but they don't really have any idea. That's what feeds my feeling that we don't have to be othered. We don't have to be in one camp or the other. You can be in both. And what you bring to each place is your own kind heart and clear thinking mind, and your identity, your confidence in who you are as a person, as a woman, as a mother and a grandmother. You know, that's what I bring to the table.